Hello again, Y Blast viewers. This is Ed Thompson, and I'm from Greensboro, as I said last week. But since I probably have some new people out there today, I just want to say a special welcome to you. Thank you for joining me on something we call a YouTube Blast. And I'm going to be very quick, but I want to be thorough on catching you folks up with a quick review from last week. Like I say, it will be quick, but some of you may be asking, what is this all about? And last week I tried to answer that what question by giving you two main words that this Y Blast is all about. First word, we talked about connections. And I said in detail, connections with one another, connections with the message of Jesus Christ and his gospel, and then finally, the connection with Christ himself in union, in relationship with Jesus Christ. Now that takes us to the second word, relationship, and we touched upon all the relationships that we're in, from marriage to parenting to friends to family. We even touched on enemies, just to mention them. And I thought maybe next week we'd look more at this part and then the part I'm just about to tell you, which is the second question covered last week. Why am I doing this? Why are we here to listen to this? And the quick answer, to make disciples of Christ. Now, with the connection and with a relationship, Christ knew the best way that he wanted to spread his good news is to use people. And disciples are people who follow him so well that they help him, although he does most of the work, in bringing new people into the kingdom. So why do we do it? I would hope more people come into God's kingdom. There you have it, folks. I'm going to leave it brief. Like I said, that part about disciple making is not going to be touched again today, but we are going to get down with connections and relationships. Three quick stories. Story number one is a commercial many of you, if not most, have seen. It involves a 10-year-old boy walking in a school cafeteria. He notes that there's some guys over here that he wants to sit with, but they let him know quickly the empty seat is not his, and they scorn and shun him. He goes back to the back of the cafeteria and sits by himself. Lo and behold, a couple of ladies, young girls, 10 years old, saw all the action, and they weren't going to have any of that. So they marshaled or assembled all their friends to pick up their tables and chairs and take them all back to where this little fellow was. And they sat around him, they sat behind him, they sat everywhere, and they gave him attention and acceptance. Let me just say, with the care and the love you could see in this short commercial, that connection is definitely going to be followed by relationships. He'll never have to eat alone again. This is what happened to this little boy who was connected with all these other students, to the goodness of him having a lot more friends at the end of that day. I just think it's wonderful. It doesn't always happen like that, but when it does, these are important. So, story two. Are you ready for some football? I'm talking about the NFL, and we don't know when and where and how, but there's some guys in Philadelphia. They have a team up there called the Eagles, and a quarterback named Carson Wentz. You may have heard of him. He's pretty good. But you may not have heard of him for the reason I'm going to tell you. And that is that he has a ministry. And it's called Audience of One. AO1. And he puts t-shirts out and all that. Gets his teammates, some of them, coaches, some of them, a great ministry staff. And what do? They go out and connect with underprivileged, needy kids, special needs kids, kids that aren't going to get what I'm talking about, and he knows how to get out there and relate to these kids. It's beautiful, it's growing, and since he's the quarterback for the Eagles, it doesn't hurt matters. But that's story number two. And I now want to go into story number three, and It begins this way. 1 year ago, a certain man came out of retirement. He didn't have quite the finances he thought he was going to have, and his life was not structured real well. He was spending too much time sleeping all day. His friends finally talked him into getting a job, although he resisted. And then one friend said, just try Chick-fil-A. The man said, well, if you say so, I guess I will. And he went and applied. And he went to 2 interviews. And they said, come on in, Ed. Yes, I am that guy. I'll just go ahead and tell you now. I'm that man who went in and began a year long with a great company. But let me just stop for one moment and say, the night before, I was nervous, anxious, and I really just didn't want to start over somewhere at the age I was at, mid-60s. And I got on my knees by my bed and I said, Lord, help me. If you can get me out of this, please do. And if you don't, just help me. Folks, I heard in my spirit, and this could be my brain, it could be God, but whatever, I just want to be real and say, I heard this term, audience of one. And absolutely, I heard him say, I am your audience of one. I'm going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about that. You do your part and you look to me and I will deliver. And I thought to myself, I'm going to do my part. And I got in there with the hope that things were going to get really good there. In short, they got really good there. The people are wonderful, the management wonderful, and then of course I love those customers / our guests. And all of these people, there is so much connecting and relationship going on. Not all Ed on the offense, but people coming to me, people making me feel accepted. This works both ways. I just want you to know, it's not about you or me just going out and doing all the work. Sometimes those blessings come back. So they have come back. And this year, even with the virus situation and all that, I am so glad that I'm employed there because I think the best is yet to come. The Lord's shown me that I'm on mission to do work that I didn't dream of before I ever applied there. And finally, that the good that's going to come out of the relationships is going to, once again, flourish into other areas. We'll talk about those soon. Folks, I'm going to go ahead now and just pull it all together. One thing I want to say one more time, I'm not asking you to stop in the middle of 5 o'clock traffic and you see somebody over here and you go connect with them. No, this is not that kind of urging. The urging is for you, just ask God, help me, Lord, connect and relate to people better, whatever that means, for you. Because the way I would do it may be totally different, and God knows we're different. He does, but I just don't want you to feel pressured in this. Once that begins to happen, all of a sudden, that becomes a lot more of a goal than some of the bad habits I was into before. And here's the final thing. It's also helped me to learn to like me more because I'm more genuine and real with people, and I'm learning who I really am. And at my age, if you're having to wait that long, hey, I'm not ashamed to say it, but I'm just saying, I wish I'd have learned some of this a while back. Folks, I'm pulling in now because I do respect your time. I'm going to call it quits, but I'm going to say join me next week. We've got some talking to do. Bye. See ya.